The morning sun was blazing over a small town in Texas. Dust swirled across the cracked parking lot of Westbrook High School, where students lingered before the first bell. At the far edge of the lot sat a rusty 1983 Harley-Davidson Sportster, faded red paint peeling at the edges, a worn leather seat cracked from decades of sun. Leaning against it was a teenage boy named Jake Miller, only 16 years old, quiet, stubborn, and trying desperately not to let anyone see how much his hands were shaking. The motorcycle had belonged to his father. His late father had once been a biker, a proud member of the Iron Road Brotherhood, riding highways from coast to coast. But after he died in a tragic accident 2 years earlier, the world had become very cruel to Jake. That morning, he was waiting for the shop teacher to unlock the garage so he could work on the bike during auto class. Jake stood quietly, hoping nobody would notice him. But across the parking lot, 3 senior football players were already laughing. One of them pointed at the old Harley. "Look, Fast and Furious Junkyard Edition." The others burst into loud laughter. Jake lowered his head silently. He was already used to bullying, but then one of the boys walked over. He kicked the front tire hard. The bike wobbled and nearly tipped. Jake lunged to catch it, his hands trembling. "Wait, he actually rides this thing." The boys circled the motorcycle while mocking him loudly. "Look at this pathetic piece of scrap. Your dead dad couldn't even afford a real bike." Jake's hands started trembling worse. "Please leave it alone." But suddenly one of the boys shoved Jake hard. He slammed into the Harley's handlebars. His backpack spilled across the asphalt, notebooks and pens scattering everywhere. The entire parking lot fell silent, but nobody stepped forward to help. Some students looked away awkwardly. Others pulled out phones to record. Tears slowly rolled down Jake's cheeks. The boys laughed even harder. "Cry, baby, Daddy's little biker boy." If you love stories where justice rides in on 2 wheels and the underdog finally wins, hit that subscribe button and join the Brotherhood. Drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from: Texas, Tennessee, or somewhere the highway calls your name. Every writer has a story. This was Jake's. The next one could be yours. Then suddenly, the deep rumble of motorcycles echoed from the main road. 1, 2, then dozens of bikes. The sound grew so loud that the school windows began vibrating. Everyone in the parking lot turned toward the entrance in shock. Through the dust rolled a massive biker group. Black motorcycles, leather vests, heavy boots, and faces that looked like they had seen every highway in America. The school gate slowly rumbled open. A tall biker rode inside on a chrome Harley, engine cutting with a final thunderclap. Gray beard, cold eyes, a large eagle tattoo across his forearm. The entire parking lot became silent. The biker slowly removed his gloves, then his eyes stopped on Jake. On his tears, the scattered backpack, and the old Harley trembling on its kickstand. His expression instantly darkened. "Who touched the boy?" Nobody answered. The football player suddenly looked nervous. One of them forced a laugh. "Relax, old man. It was just a joke." The biker slowly walked closer, close enough for the boy to notice the military tattoos covering his hands and the president patch on his vest. Then the biker spoke in a cold voice. "Son, being fatherless does not mean being alone." The boy's hands began shaking. Then something happened that nobody expected. The biker knelt beside the old Harley. He picked up a fallen notebook from the asphalt, then suddenly froze. Inside were detailed motorcycle sketches, including one very specific biker patch design. The biker's eyes widened in shock. "Where did you get these drawings?" Jake quietly wiped away his tears. "My dad used to draw them for me before he taught me to ride." The biker's voice changed immediately. "What was your father's name?" "Daniel Miller." The moment he heard the name, the biker stepped backward. Outside the gate, the entire biker group became silent too, because Daniel Miller had once been one of them. A biker, a brother, a legend. The older biker's eyes filled with tears. "He saved my life in a highway pileup outside El Paso. Rode back into burning wreckage to pull me out." Jake stared at him in shock. "You knew my dad?" The biker slowly nodded. Then in front of the entire school, the dangerous-looking biker dropped to one knee beside the old Harley and softly said, "Your father was one of the greatest men I ever knew. And this bike, he built it with his own hands the year you were born." The parking lot became completely silent. Now the football players looked truly terrified, but the biker wasn't finished. He slowly stood and turned toward them. "You mocked a boy." His voice became ice cold. "Without knowing whose son he is." The boys immediately started apologizing, but it was too late. One by one, every biker rolled through the gate and circled the old Harley protectively. Nearly 20 rough-looking bikers, protecting one crying teenage boy, not with violence but with respect. One biker picked up Jake's scattered notebooks. Another inspected the Harley's engine with genuine admiration. A female biker gently placed a worn Brotherhood bandana around Jake's neck. And for the first time in years, Jake smiled from the heart. That morning, the bikers stayed with him until the principal arrived. When the confused principal walked into the parking lot and saw dozens of bikers surrounding a student and his motorcycle, he froze in alarm. But the older biker stepped forward softly. "Sir, this boy's father once saved our lives. Now we protect his son." The principal stood silent. Before leaving, the bikers handed Jake a small leather patch. On it were the words, "Forever Family." They also left a business card for a custom shop across town, with a note scrawled on the back. "Bring the Harley. We'll restore her together." A few weeks later, Jake's story went viral across America. People donated parts and tools for the restoration. His motorcycle sketches became famous online. And every Saturday morning, members of the Iron Road Brotherhood returned to the school parking lot just to ride with him. Because sometimes family is not built by blood. Sometimes it's built by loyalty, kindness, and the open road.